What is up, Pats Nation? Patriots Global here, and as the title, you can probably tell that in today's video, we are going to be talking about which player that the Patriots drafted, make sure that keyword is drafted, can ultimately possibly be one of the biggest steals in the draft. It seems to be yearly and pretty often for the Patriots that some late round pick or undrafted free agent signing ends up being someone really good. And a player that has been very, very, very under the radar that I think can truly be something is cornerback Keion Crossen. So Crossin was drafted in the 2018 NFL Draft by the New England Patriots with the 7th round pick, 243rd overall. He's 5'9", 178 pounds, so he's definitely a smaller cornerback, and everyone thought that Malcolm Butler was way too small to be in the NFL, and he was 5'11". So Keion Crossen is 2 inches smaller than Butler. Crossin is the first player to be drafted from WCU since 1994. Just a little interesting fact. Crossin played in all 12 games as a freshman, racking up 17 tackles in his rookie year. Sophomore year, he intercepted 2 passes, and his junior year, he finished with 61 tackles and broke up 7 passes. As a senior, he bumped that number to 67 tackles, including 39 solo stops. He battled down a pass in the end zone on the final play against Samford, halting a 27-game winless drought against nationally ranked FCS competition. Keyon ran a 4.33 in the 40-yard dash, so he's definitely a speedy guy. In comparison to Butler ran a 4.6 in his 40-yard dash, so Keion Crossen is definitely faster than Butler was. Now, as a later 7th round draft pick as a cornerback, I'm sure you're going to be a little You hear about his size, and then you're like, oof. That's definitely how I was with this guy. When the Patriots first got him, I truly did not think that he would come out to be anything. And keep in mind, we are still in OTAs. We're not even in minicamp yet, so nothing is set in stone. But from the one day that the media got to go to OTAs, he has been the standout player. He had the play of the day and was said to be the best player on one of the days at OTAs. He had a leaping interception in the end zone, picking off Brian Hoyer when defending James White. He also had 2 PBUs, which, in case you don't know, was passes broken up, and quarterbacks were 0-5 when targeting him. Another interesting fact about him is that he actually models his play after Malcolm Butler. If you look him up on YouTube, you will get this story about him and how being drafted changed his story. And I love Keion Crossen. I love his story. He started really playing football to help his family have a life, and they were basically living on the streets. He didn't think that he would get drafted, but is extremely, extremely thankful that he is, and he is ready to ball out, fight for that cornerback spot, and make a living for his family. Keion Crossen is probably one of the biggest players that has a lot riding on a spot on the 53-man roster. But from what we've seen and from what we've heard about him, he is definitely going to make it tough for other cornerbacks to get this spot. So just like I do with all these NFL draftees, I would like to talk about their strengths and their weaknesses, so that's what I will be doing for Keion Crossen. So his strengths are that he's extremely athletic corner with exponential ball skills. He has great recovery and speed and closes well. He changes direction efficiently, which is something Malcolm Butler definitely struggled with this past season. He shows good instincts and route recognition, which is definitely good. If he can read these routes, he can definitely make some picks and some stops. He plays the ball well in the air, showing good timing in terms of looking back for the ball, which, going back to Malcolm Butler, he struggled in that so much. I mean, ever since that one play, he got straight up burnt in the Super Bowl when playing the Atlanta Falcons. That's just something he struggled with last season also, not looking back at the right time and then getting burnt the rest of the route. He's also a high effort player. He plays the run well, and he's a violent tackler. So if you read about him, this guy sounds like Malcolm Butler, but faster. The only thing I think this guy is going to have trouble with in the NFL is that he is so small, and there are a lot of really, really tall wide receivers and tight ends. I mean, if you look at it, he's going up against players like James White, maybe Edelman or Chris Hogan. These players are not the tallest, not whatsoever. So we need to see if he can play against people that are taller, especially with him sitting at 5'9", going up against someone like Julio Jones. That would be deadly for him. It even talks about it a little in his weaknesses, which I'm now going to get to. So in his weaknesses, it says that he lacks size to compete with bigger receivers, and he fails to show the ability to jam at the line. He prefers to shuffle his feet rather than backpedal in coverage. He also did not face elite level of competition and still had trouble with pass coverage. He occasionally relies on his speed too much and drifts out of position. So there's definitely a lot to be worked on there, guys. Obviously the biggest thing, one of his biggest weaknesses, and a big reason why he was projected to be a very late round pick, is his size. He can improve in coverage and jamming at the line, all that, but what he can't change is his height difference. So something interesting that I found online is the stats of Crossin and the stats that are for the average for his position. So Crossin is 5'9", like I mentioned several times, and the average for a cornerback is 5'11", which is what Malcolm Butler was. The weight of Crossin is 178, and the average for his position is 195, so he's definitely lower weighted than maybe he should be. Something that will make you feel better is that Crossin, like I said, for the 40-yard dash ran a 4.33, and the average for his position was a 4.46. For bench press, Crossin had 13, while the average for his position was 14. And then there's some other statistical stuff like long jump and cone, stuff that I don't really feel matters as much as the stuff I've talked about. But yeah, I ultimately feel like from what we've heard about him, he's going to put up a fight for this cornerback position. And honestly, I'm rooting for him. I love this guy. I mean, obviously I want Duke Dawson to be something, as the Patriots had a second round for this guy. But Crossin is definitely a cornerback I am shooting for to make this team. Like I said, the Patriots do have some smaller receivers and running backs, so we will have to wait till possibly some training camp when they do joint practices and preseason to see how he does with maybe some taller wide receivers. What do you guys think about Keion Crossen, though? That's the important part. What do you think about the stuff I've said? Do you have faith in him? Do you not have faith in him? Do you think that he could possibly be the player that could be the biggest steal in the draft like I do? Let me know in the comments below, guys. I'm really curious on this one. But that's it for today's video, Pats Nation. Take care. We'll give it a shot.